Morning everyone, welcome to Compliance Over Coffee. Bit of an overcast Thursday morning today, but never mind, as long as we don't get that rain. This morning I wanted to talk to you about a link to a post that I put up in the group earlier on this week, and that is that HMRC have just released a list of recent fines for money laundering breaches. That isn't for money laundering itself, but actually for companies who are registered for supervision who have failed that supervision or in some cases failed to register. Now, there were 70 plus fines issued within the period of time that they were looking at, and over 30 of those were for the estate agency property sales sector, of which of course sourcing agents fall a part of. So I thought this morning I would briefly cover for you some of the things that these companies have been fined for. One of the key ones this time, unusually I have to say, was for failing to register. And there are an awful lot of sourcing agents out there who are told or believe that they don't have to register for money laundering supervision if they don't handle cash. And sadly that's incorrect. You do have to register. And the fine size will be dependent on the type of business that you're running, how long you've been running it, and of course if you have any active client and you've been servicing those clients without actually being registered. And some of the fines were as high as £8,000 for the privilege of not registering. Some were at the £1,000 mark. But I know from experience that sources don't have that level of cash lying around. So if you don't want a fine for not registering with HMRC, please ensure that you do, but please before you register ensure you understand what you're registering for. And that's key to the next section of points that HMRC have been fining for. And I've got a list so that I don't forget. It's nearly the end of the week, guys, and I'm running a bit tired. And my brain isn't what it used to be, so I've got a list in front of me so I don't miss anything for you. So there's a number of things that HMRC fine for, and if you have a look at the article that I linked to, it gives you a list of the fines, it gives you the names of the companies, and I can tell you it's really interesting when you research the companies to find which are sourcing agents or which are owned by people that you may actually know. So the fines are for, in part, no policies in place, no procedures in place, no risk assessments in place, no staff training, and the timing of verification. Now, the policies, procedures and risk assessments you guys should all know about. You should all have in place, but I know that a lot of you won't have. But you should have. And HMRC are starting to really hit home with heavy fines. And the highest that I could find from going through the list this time for estate agency businesses was £15,000. Now, none of us want a £15,000 fine. Basically, that would shut you down. It could bankrupt some of you. So please take this seriously. If you're already registered and you don't have all of this in place, then please book a call and have a chat with me, and we can chat through what you're missing, what you need to catch up on, what you need to get in place urgently, because these guys don't mess about. And they're not coming out to see you, they're sending you letters and giving you 10 days to produce all of this. So, out of all of that stuff, your DP, your AML training, your risk assessments, your procedures, your policies, the one thing that most people ask me about is what's this timing of verification? The timing of verification is the one thing that seems to be repeated in every single fine across the estate agency sector, and it's the one thing that people really don't understand and can't get their head round. And I think it's the one thing that the vast majority of sourcing agents certainly would fail on, where HMRC to look into your procedures and how you operate. An ID verification or timing of verification is when you carry out ID checks and that client due diligence. And what you should be doing is this. As a sourcing agent, if you're being paid by the buyer, they are known as your contracted client, and you should have completed ID verification, client due diligence, prior to the business relationship forming. Look at it this way. A high street estate agent who is selling someone's property gets paid by them. They do all of the due diligence on the high street estate agent before they market that property. That is the way they have to do it. But because the person who pays our fee is the buyer, we have to do it in reverse. And that's where a lot of sourcing agents will fall over, because they're finding the deal and then going out and finding a buyer. But they're not doing due diligence. They're not stopping the purchase process at that point and doing the due diligence. Their timing of verification will be wrong. And you know, fines are in the thousands of pounds, guys. So you really, really need to understand the process of day-to-day sourcing, how it affects what you do, what should be done in what order, what documents you should have in place. Now, on the 11th and 12th of June, I'm running our first 2-day day-to-day sourcing with compliance workshop. And the reason that I've created this 2-day workshop, it's Zoom, it's online, is because of all of this stuff that HMRC are fining for. And that is not how to set up your business, which, to be honest, is fairly easy. The difficult thing for a lot of sources is actually implementing what they should be doing on a day-to-day basis, client after client after client, because this is what HMRC ask for and it's what they expect to see. So if you're interested in learning about how Tony and I source on a day-to-day basis, how we apply all of the compliance, all of our documentation, right from the go-get of marketing for your investors, onboarding them, the same for the sellers, onboarding them, assessing the deal, packaging it up, getting it accepted and getting it over the line and monitoring and everything else that's involved, then that 2-day course would be a great starting point for you. Now, the 2-day course itself is £395. Yes, you heard me correctly, £395. It is not thousands of pounds. I want you guys to be compliant. I want you guys to run a professional business. So, that's Compliance Over Coffee for this morning. I'll pop a link in for you to go and have a look at the 2-day workshop information, the day-to-day sourcing workshop information, in the comment box underneath. Either I will do or Tony will do after we finish the video. I hope that's been useful to you. Please, please, please take anti-money laundering seriously. I've been talking about it for years. A lot of people have been saying, oh, it's a law according to Tina Walsh. No, it's not. It's the law according to the UK regulations. And a lot of people are being heavily fined now for not understanding what they're signing up for or just not signing up. That's it for this morning. I hope the sun shines where you are this weekend. Have a fantastic weekend, hopefully a chilled weekend, and I will be back with everybody again for another Compliance Over Coffee next Thursday morning at 8:30. Bye for now.